Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Freshman Feature. I'm Steven Osentoski here of MaizenBrew, bringing you episode 4. Today we're covering the 3-star quarterback out of Massapequa, something like that, New York, Dan Villari. Thanks for everyone who participated in the poll for episode 3. You can find that in the description below. Make sure you participate in the poll above for your vote on who you want to see for the next future episodes. We're getting close to the end of the 2020 class, so last few guys here, make sure you guys are leaving comments below and voting in the poll to ensure that I covered the guys that you really want to see. All right, with that being said, let's get into it. Dan Villari went to Plain Edge High School, Long Island, New York. He led his team to a 12-0 record and the program's first ever Long Island Class 3 state championship. He led them to 2 straight league titles in 2018 and 2019 as a junior and senior, respectively. He was 23-1 as a starter, first team All-State and All Long Island selection. He played defense as well as QB, both safety and defensive back on the defensive end. Funnily enough, in his senior year, his head coach actually got suspended for beating a team too badly. I'll show a little clip from the video.
There's nothing served by beating a team in football by 60 points, by 50 points, Come up with a policy that we can enforce so we don't embarrass the other team.
The rule, adopted 2 years ago in recognition that high school football is designed to encourage participation and sportsmanship.
Maybe you should not get beat by over 50 points. I don't know. That's a BS rule in my opinion. Let's move on to his stats here. So he had pretty ridiculous stats both his senior and junior year. I'll throw them up on the screen here. Over 1,300 passing yards, 13 TDs to 1 pick his senior year, and over 1,500 rushing yards and 25 touchdowns. So this guy was a touchdown highlight reel his senior year. Junior year was just behind, around 1,100 yards both for passing and rushing, 25 total TDs between rushing and passing. So he had a ton of production in his final 2 years at Plain Edge High School. Looking at his metrics, 40 time of 5.01, not as high as you would want. Obviously, he is more of a pass threat than a true dual threat, but he does have enough athleticism. Specifically, that shuttle time of 4.34 shows his change of direction is a little bit better than his long speed. Vertical is kind of a non-factor at 25.7. All services have him around 6'3", 6'4", and 215 pounds. Looking at his rankings, all services have him as a 3-star. None of them have a national ranking on him. 24/7 is the highest at 32 pro-style quarterback rivals. Does not have a positional ranking, and ESPN has him at around 45 pro-style. I'll have him right around number 10 in New York, if not a little lower than that. The 24/7 composite has him around 1,200 nationally, 42 pro-style quarterback, and number 12 in the state of New York. Looking at his recruitment, J.D. Johnson was Michigan's former commit of the 2020 class at the quarterback position. He announced in October 2019 that a heart condition would end his football career. Michigan's honoring that with a scholarship that will carry him through Michigan, and he will be on the staff, so that's great by the university to do that. Michigan did have to scramble to unearth a quarterback for the 2020 class. At the time, they were looking at Villari for a possible gray shirt option. They had a late run at the top 100 quarterback, CJ Stroud. They fell a bit short. He's going to OSU. Damn it. But they offered Villari a scholarship as a result of that. Looked like Villari was ticketed to Fordham initially before his senior year. He decommitted, put on 25 pounds of muscle, and a couple Power 5 programs started to take notice of his skill set. QB coach Ben McDaniels, Josh Gaddis, and Harbaugh all took a trip over to Long Island to a in-home visit with Dan Villari himself. That made a big impression with Villari on who he would choose for his eventual college program. He took a visit to Michigan in early December, and Dan Villari committed the day he received an offer in December of 2019. Looking at his offers, as I mentioned, Dan Villari was an FCS commit for Fordham. He backed out of that. He had offers from UMass, Albany, Buffalo, Central Connecticut State. Kent State was coming on late. He had some interest from Rutgers and Wisconsin, an in-home visit with Wisconsin. So there was some Power 5 interest there. Michigan jumped on it early, and Villari followed suit. So looking at his scouting, he had some high praise from his coach, who lauded his leadership and work ethic. He also praised Villari for his arm talent, both velocity and strength. He could change the pace on the ball as well. I definitely agree with that. That's one of my favorite skill sets that Villari brings to the table. He brings the ability to extend plays, work off schedule, and throw from all platforms with different velocities, high accuracy. On the running front, he has speed, agility, vision, solid strength, and good one-cut elusiveness. I was actually surprised by his elusiveness in the run game. I think that's something Michigan could really utilize moving forward. He did have a couple defensive clips. He has some punishing hits from the safety position, so there's a good amount of positional fluidity for Dan Villari when he enters Michigan. All right, let's take a look at his film here. Okay, so the first set of clips here is on ball velocity. So he shows above average arm strength on the first couple throws here, fitting them into tight windows. He's able to add variety to the flight of the ball. So on these deeper passes or passes across the middle there, you see he doesn't have to rifle them in when he doesn't have to. He has variability here. This ball just kind of floats into the receiver's arms, and that's really nice. It's a very calm flight, just like I said, really settles into the receiver's arms. It's a very nuanced skill to know when you have to throw a rifle between coverage and when you can really lay it up and provide a nice catchable ball for the receiver. And that's something he's very well versed in. Again, this pass just makes it really easy for the receiver to cradle that ball. Next area I really liked was his throws on the run. So what impressed me here is that he's very comfortable on the run. He doesn't have to load up on the run to get the ball down the field. So these are some deeper throws that he does have the ability to set his feet and rifle them in, but he's able to throw on the run with a deep ball and make it look pretty effortless and very on target still. So it has a nice flight to the ball as well. So there are certain aspects where he's able to throw when he knows he's going to take a lick, right? There's a couple of clips here where he has a guy right in his face. He's able to deliver an on-target ball, knowing that he might be facing some contact coming up. So that's a really valuable skill. That'll, it'll translate well to college. There'll be those situations, especially Michigan's offense, that he could utilize that. Two clips here on pocket awareness. So the mobility shown in the past section here, that serves him well in the pocket, gives him the ability to evade pressure, also shows the ability to step up in the pocket here and deliver a nice strike to the corner of the end zone. So obviously with those running stats, he has a ton of running ability here. This running film is ridiculous. You can see this first clip, a very nice hurdle over the defender after a 20-yard run and then a stiff arm. So he's definitely a guy who can break 5 or 6 tackles as he does on this second clip here. It's pretty ridiculous. Reminds me a little of Jabril Peppers' film. Obviously not that level of athleticism, but he's a very crafty runner. Like I said, he's not facing the highest competition here. New York isn't known for their high school competition, but he displays a really nice stiff arm. He doesn't shy from contact. He has a lot of really good subtle one-cut moves that will serve him well at the next level. Really nice dive here, again, going all out for the touchdown. Plenty of athleticism here to keep collegiate defenses honest, and that's what you need. He's not a McCaffrey level of speed, but more of a Patterson guy who can keep him honest. Then, as I mentioned, he did have a couple clips that he showed on defense. Shows willingness to hit at the safety position. Here's a pass out of the backfield, lays the lick on a guy. Don't see the plethora of film here to make me think he'd be a passable safety. That's just not part of his skill set. He could maybe be a Viper role. If you're thinking of a possible Joey Velasquez comparison, I could see that. But outside of that, not really sure on defense. So for his comp, he reminds me a little bit of vicious Vic Viramontes. Those who have been following recruiting for quite some time, this was the 3-star quarterback back in the 2016 class that was expected to silently commit to the Wolverines on National Signing Day. He surprisingly committed to Cal after a visit. I'll link a story for MaizenBrew in the description below. So he's bounced around to a few different programs, Cal, Minnesota, junior college for a couple years, and now he's back at UNLV as a linebacker. So he was a 6 foot, 6'1", 220-pound sort of athlete that played quarterback out of high school. He was a bit higher rated. He still was a 3-star, but he was on people's radars. Plenty of Power 5 offers there. I think Villari has a higher chance of sticking at quarterback. I liked his film more than what Viramontes brought as a quarterback. Better frame at 6'4" compared to the Viramontes 6 foot, 6'1". But the skill set of positional versatility, that's the comparison I kind of see, where maybe a linebacker or a tight end fullback or even a jumbo H-back that Viramontes would be very suited for. And you can see now that he's going to be a linebacker. So I think you could possibly see that with Villari, who may not have the best possible path at quarterback, but positional versatility that was very similar with Vic Viramontes. If you want to go as a strict quarterback that Michigan has had, the closest would probably be like a bizarro world Shea Patterson, where I'm saying bizarro world just because Shea Patterson was IMG, top ranked quarterback, he's top 5 overall. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, Dan Villari here, where not really known. He was mainly FCS, only late did he come on. Played, not in a super talent-rich area. So the skill set is a little bit similar, where primarily a pro-style quarterback has some wiggle to make it work, but not a burner, and comfortability throwing on the run. That was really Patterson's feather in the cap, and I think that's what makes Villari a little bit special here. So I'm not saying that he is Shea Patterson. I'm definitely not saying that. Patterson was definitely competing at a higher level than Villari was now. But as in terms of what they bring most to the quarterback position, you can see some similarities there. All right, looking at projection here. So there's some loaded competition moving forward here at the quarterback position for Dan Villari to overcome. You got Joe Milton. So I'm looking strictly at 2021. You'll have Joe Milton, Cade McNamara, and J.J. McCarthy as a true freshman. So those are the main guys that, who knows, with transfers, injuries, anything that could happen. But those would be the main people you'd be looking at after a probable redshirt year here for Villari in 2020. Give him a few years in the system with maybe a transfer, or you never know what can happen. If I'm a betting man, he could carve out a role as a solid second string QB. With the right situation, he could flourish as a starter. That would be multiple years down the line. I think he still has quite a ways to go to compete with those guys. I would need to see his film elsewhere on offense to be confident that he could be a tight end. I don't know his catching ability. Right now, I would like him as kind of a fullback or a jumbo H-back guy that you could have coming out of the backfield. I like the ball in his hands. I think there's a lot of promise there. I just don't have enough to say confidently that he would be the best there. I want to give him a chance at quarterback for a few years. Just like I said, it's a very volatile position where you have lots of transfers. Who knows what may happen. I like the ability with the ball in his hands, so we'll see. After 2021, in 2022, you'll have McNamara as a redshirt senior. You'd have J.J. McCarthy as a redshirt freshman, and then Villari himself would be a redshirt junior in that area. So that might be the best time for him to carve out a role as a potential backup. We'll see. I think the best path for him getting playing time would be kind of that offensive weapon role. Again, we'll just have to see how he develops, where the coaching staff feels like they can utilize his skill set best, and also what happens at the QB position. So versatility makes this a very solid last-minute pickup at the quarterback position. So I'm really interested to see what he develops into moving forward. Besides that, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on Dan Villari and what he brings to the Michigan Wolverines. Leave a comment on who you want to see next. Make sure you throw a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. If this video gets to 50 likes, I'll release another episode by the end of this week. And with that, that's all I have for you guys. Stay safe out there. And as always, go blue.